to the Los Angeles podcast. I am your host, Mike Elder. It really means a lot that you're listening to this episode. A little housekeeping first. I got to shout out Maria Marisol for subscribing to the Patreon. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate your support. If you'd like a shout out, go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/BoxAngeles. Subscribe there. It's got all the first 300 audio episodes up there. So a lot of good content over there. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoxAngeles. Tons of video clips up there. A treasure trove, as I like to say, of good content, good insights, tips, tricks, advice. It's all there. Go subscribe. It would mean the world to me. We got a really good episode this week. I'm talking to actor Jessica Amlee. I've known Jessica for a little bit. We've hung out a few times. She couldn't be sweeter. This conversation is so nice and fun. She has so many stories to tell. She started acting in Vancouver at the age of 4, which is crazy. She talked about her experience as a child actor, whether or not she would let her future kids be actors, which was an interesting conversation or an interesting tidbit in this larger conversation. We talked about her being on the show Heartland, which has run 17 seasons. We talked about her move to Los Angeles and her missing going into casting rooms, which she likes going into casting rooms and she really misses that. She doesn't like self-tapes, which makes sense. That seems to be a common theme with a lot of my guests recently. But either way, Jessica was a delight. This conversation was really insightful. I think she has a lot of great information in this. She shares tons of wisdom with me. So without further ado, I give you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Amlee. I'm 5'3.5", and I am based in Los Angeles and Vancouver. I can work local.
Jess, I'm excited to talk to you.
What's up?
We've hung out a few times. We have a mutual friend, Grace, that set this up.
And Jeremy.
And our dear friend, Jeremy.
But Grace Harriman set this up.
Yeah, that's your girl you met in an acting class you just told me. But we hung out a few nights, and I'm glad we're finally doing this. This is great. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah. Weren't you just in San Francisco?
No, I was not.
Oh, for some reason I thought you were with Grace when she...
No.
You were in New Zealand.
I just got back from New Zealand. I spent 2 weeks in New Zealand.
Wow. How was that? Beautiful.
Beautiful landscape, cold water, hard hikes, nice people, good beer. It was great. It's if it's not on your radar, you should go because it wasn't on my radar. We just got a cheap flight and it was really great.
Yeah, no, New Zealand should be on everyone's radar.
It's like a mix of you're from Canada. It's like a mix of Banff meets Norway.
Oh, I'm Norwegian, and
you've been to Banff.
Banff is one of my favorite places in the world. So that sounds like an A-OK.
That's what it is. You know how Banff has that really ultra blue water? It looks like Mountain Dew Baja Blast kind of.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the New Zealand water is because it's a lot like glacial runoff and volcanic
But that's what
runoff.
the entire place is like.
A lot of it, yeah.
Because Banff is very specific. You're not gonna in Alberta, you're not gonna find a glacier lake like that all the time.
Right. There's
Lake
a few
Louise,
though. Lake Louise is phenomenal, and there's that glacier up there on top of it, but it's very similar.
Well, okay, if you want to get specific, Mike. Whatever.
What's funny about that?
I'm the Canadian here.
I know. Can I tell you something funny about my trip to Banff? Do you know what gout is?
Gout?
Gout
rings a bell.
Gout is known as the king's disease, right? So it's a form of arthritis and it manifests in the big toe. And it's one of the most painful things ever that you can't, a sheet on your foot at night hurts, right? The first time I ever got gout was right after Banff. I was crushing, microbrew beers all week and what's it called with the gravy on the fries? Poutine. I was crushing poutine all week. Came back, just got the worst gout ever, and it was all because of Canada. Think about that.
Is gout a really bad hangnail?
No. It's just
a different kind of thing.
It's an inflammation of the joint. So it just is your toe swells up.
Sheesh.
They call it the king's disease because normally it's associated with indulgence of alcohol and red meat and stuff.
So you have no means to complain. You just indulged.
I indulge too much. Gluttony.
Gluttony.
And hereditary. My grandpa has it, so I blame my grandpa. Anyways, I digress.
We love you, Grandpa.
Jess, I'm jazzed to talk to you. You are from Canada, right? You grew up in Vancouver, is that right?
I grew up, born, raised, Vancouver, but outside of Vancouver.
Suburbs.
I grew up in the suburbs, 45 minutes away, which made it easy enough to get to auditions. Shout out to my mom for driving me auditions every day. But I grew up in Maple Ridge.
Okay.
Maple Ridge is like the quintessential like Canadian town.
Got it. I'm from Minnesota. I don't know if you know that. So
Minnesota.
Oh yeah, up north on the lakes.
Canadians and Minnesotans have a lot in common. Yeah.
How have we not been on Fargo? You and me, by the way.
Yeah,
we should both be on Fargo. But it's very similar. I feel like a small town.
Yeah.
Not that
Nice
Maple Ridge is
people.
small, but nice people. Yeah.
Maple
very
Ridge
similar
is
vibes.
Maple Ridge is small.
Yeah. It's not Yaletown or Gastown in Vancouver. It's a small town outside. So did you always aspire to act? Because you started acting when you were
4.
4. Okay.
4.5.
So this wasn't a decision you made. This is something your parents put you in.
This was a decision I made.
Oh, it was?
I asked my mom, because I was obsessed with Mary-Kate and Ashley's mystery shows and Full House. And so I asked my mom, how can I be them? And my mom was like, you can't have a twin. That's not going to happen ever. And then she was like, what do you mean? I was like, no, I want to do what they do. I want to. And so I don't know if I wanted to be a detective, like the Mary Kate, because I still to this day am obsessed with crime and like mystery solving. But I love acting more. And so I'm glad my mom picked that route at this age.
Cop school.
And so she was like, it's either swimming classes or, because I was already taking competitive, not professional, competitive dance. And so my mom was like, either it's competitive dance or acting. And I picked acting.
That's great. So it was very much something you wanted to do. I have to ask this because I've talked to a few kid actors on this podcast, but from my experience at commercial auditions, when I get paired with a child actor,
right,
which doesn't happen much anymore. I wonder what they found out about me. But there's two types. There's 2 types of kids, right? Yeah. There's the ones that are really on top of it, and the ones that don't want to be there and are sort of distracted, and they really have to like get their attention. Were you in one of those categories?
I was the kid that wanted to be there, wanted to entertain, and had fun doing it.
Yeah.
And so it was never. I wouldn't have. I mean, as a kid, I booked constantly. Like I did 60 plus commercials and like all of this. And it's because I liked to do it. I had fun. If I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't have booked.
Right.
But the directors, everybody, like when you're in the room, like it's obvious what kid wants to be there and what kid's parent is bringing them there going, smile, do it for the camera.
Yeah.
Like it's never gonna translate onto camera.
I love hearing that. I literally was just at 200 South La Brea. We were talking about that. And there was a guy across from us who was like, I don't know why I'm here. He was just projecting this like negativity to this group that he was about to go in with. And I'm like, I feel so bad for that group because why is he putting that out there? If you don't want to be there, don't be there. These guys are trying their hardest to book this. It's already hard enough.
Right.
Why
and
put that energy out?
There's hopefulness about it. And like when someone comes in jaded, and I've been doing this for like acting for 25 years now, and I've never felt I've had the feelings of being jaded, but I always at the end of the day have like the passion and the hope, and I think that overrides I love that. The mystique of the industry and the terribleness of the industry. Like there is ways to bypass and go around. You just have to take the long way home.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to look at it. So you were the kid that had the lines memorized, knew where to stand in the spot. You were on top of it is what you're saying. And on top of that, you loved what you were doing and you were a little showman.
I love taking direction. And to this day, this is my job. Like, this is what I miss most about being in the room, being with casting, is I love taking direction.
Yeah.
It's because you can have it played out in one way in your head, but actually getting direction, it gives you something to strive for. Oh, I can achieve this. Oh, I can do that. I can hit that mark. And that's something as a kid I loved was perform it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you mentioned you booked 60 commercials. Did you find success right away, or did it take a little while for you, or?
So the last commercial I ever auditioned for, because my mom and I were testing this out. Like, we didn't know anything. None of my family, they're all musicians. None of them are actors. And so we had one last audition. My mom said, because I was getting disappointed and my mom hated seeing me, get depleted. And so she was like, listen, we'll do one more. If it doesn't work out, we'll back out. And I was like, okay. And so, because I had so much fun in auditions. And so we went to a French's French fried onion commercial. And I booked that one. And, we walked on set. They were like, crafties over there. And my mom's like, cool, we can do crafts. Like, that's how green we were. We were like, oh my gosh. So I was looking for the glue and like
that's hilarious.
The crayons and stuff. And then they were like, circus is over there. And we're like, there's a circus.
Wait, what's circus? I don't know what circus is.
Maybe it's a Canadian term.
What is circus?
Circus is where like all the trailers are, the makeup, hair, wardrobe.
Got it.
So circus, that could be a Canadian term.
And you were picturing like a
circus. So we were like, we get to do crafts. There's a circus. And so we walk up and we're like, this is just a bunch of trailers. We're like, okay. And then crafty's just a bunch of snacks. Okay. But I had so much fun. But my brother in the commercial of French's French Fried Onions, he had all the lines. And I really specifically remember this. I remember going to the bathroom with my mom, and I went and I started crying, and I was like, why can't I do the lines? Why can't I do all the lines? And my mom went, you just keep working at it. Oh. You'll eventually have all the lines.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
How old are you?
4.5, 5.
So this was the first commercial you booked. You'd been doing it for like 6 months. You hadn't got anything.
Exactly.
You were starting to get jaded as a 4.5-year-old, and then this came to be. You got it, no lines, and you still were like, oh, it's not enough. But your mom, it sounds like she had a head on top of her, and she was like, work hard,
100%.
and you can get. That's very cool.
She was like, just keep going, and eventually you'll have the lines. And I didn't really understand that as a kid, but like, I just knew, okay, listen to mom. Like, she's probably right. If I keep going, then eventually I'll have the lines. And that turned out to be super true.
I love that. So what was that like, juggling school and acting? Were you leaving school often for auditions? Were your friends envious of you? Were you not making friends because you weren't in school? What was that dynamic like?
Fortunately for me, I was a really social kid, and all the kids growing up on my street ended up being like popular kids, and so they ended up being my best friends, so I could kind of come in and out. I got bullied. Like, I did the Play-Doh commercial, so everyone called me Play-Doh girl. I did My Little Pony campaign, so everybody called me like My Little Pony girl. Like
in a battle, in like a negative context.
Yeah.
Like, to me, Play-Doh boy, I'd be like, yeah, that's right.
Right. And hindsight 2020, right? But at the time it was like, because people go, I want my Play-Doh, please. And it was just like a constant thing. And so, and kids are like, I don't know if they were jealous, but it was just something different. And so anything that kids deal with that is different, they're going to get bullied for.
Right, yeah.
If you have extra curly hair, if you have really long hair, if you, like anything. Kids
don't have hair.
If you don't have, you're okay. You look great. You have hair here.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Facial hair is everything. But like if you're just different, kids are going to pinpoint that and try and ruin your life.
So I don't know this. Did you finish school, or did you have to pull out once you started working a lot more?
Oh, I definitely finished. So it's actually illegal not to finish school. Like, I have to had. Oh yeah,
I
like
didn't know that.
I had to have 3 hours of tutoring every day. So private tutoring where you're in the trailer doing tutoring, but it equates to more study time than I would have gotten in elementary school or high school because it's one-on-one.
One-on-one, yeah.
And I had really great tutors that, like, especially when I was in high school, you're working, like, 10-hour days. And my tutor, Sandra, she would be like, why don't you just nap and I'll read this to you. So it was like that kind of thing where it's like, thank you for like having empathy that I'm not just studying, I'm also working full time as an actor. And the people that give that kind of leeway are the people that I carry with me.
Yeah. I have a coworker in my day job whose mom was a teacher and she quit and now just teaches kids on set. And
Really?
She loves it. Yeah. And she's done like really big shows, but she like she thinks it's way better. Yeah.
Why does she think it's better?
I don't know, but she just loves it more. It's probably more of what you just said, more one-on-one, less like stress, dealing with a big group.
It really is about like relationship. Like you have to get along with your tutor because they're kind of a second parent for you on set. They're the person that is like, no, we have to do schooling right now, even if it's 2 hours a day. Because there's this thing, it's called banking hours. And so you can do on like a Wednesday, if you're not working, you can bank like 6 hours. And then you can take those 6 hours and split it up through the week.
Right.
And so you spend a lot of time with your tutor. And if your tutor's good, they'll help you get along. That's all I'm gonna say, Sandra. I'm never gonna rat you out. I love you, Sandra.
Was it Sandra on a lot of it, or on Heartland? Are you thinking specifically?
Heartland specifically, because that was the majority of my high school years. Right. And she would help me phone teachers and be like, "Hey, I gotta be on this test. Like, ask me 4 questions, and if I get them all right, give me an A."
Wow, Sandra, I like her.
So I really learned how to like debate.
I love that.
Teachers, yeah.
I shot a commercial in January and there was some kids on it. And literally the mom brought the kid in, found the tutor and said, okay, have fun. And then she went off in the corner and just was like reading a book. And I was like, that's
crazy. That's crazy. No, especially for like a 2-3 day shoot. Like my mom would always sit in on the tutoring session because she doesn't know this person.
Yeah.
Like they're not a part of the school. Canada has incredible public schools. They are like private schools in America, no offense, America, but like they're like trusted and like whatever. And so no, don't leave.
Thank you for lifting the mic up. I was gonna say
don't leave your kid in a trailer with somebody you don't know. Period.
So did you properly finish? Like, do you feel like you had a proper high school experience then, or were you out of high school too much? Oh,
No.
You think you did? So you like went to prom and you went to homecoming and all that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would have to contractually book those days off. So if I had prom
interesting.
or something that excited me, like a best friend's birthday, I would contractually get those days booked off. So I would fly home to Vancouver.
Wow. How far in advance could you do that though?
I would have to do it like 8 months in advance.
Wow.
So I would need to know what dates are important so I could make sure that like these were non-negotiables.
Was that something you figured out after like missing something big, or did your agent have the foresight? I assume your agent was doing that. So did they have the foresight to be like, hey, if you have anything upcoming, this is a long commitment, get it?
That's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that, and so I have to think about it. But I would say you're probably right with your questioning that through experience, I went, what are the dates that are non-negotiables, like prom or grad or birthdays. Like my 16th birthday, I remember I had to put that down in my contract the year before and say, like, and that's why my 16th, it was a terrible day, but like, like nobody's 16th birthday is awesome.
Well, when you put hype into anything, it never pans out.
Exactly. When you put hype into anything.
That's why I told you this podcast was going to be terrible, but it's going so well.
No, it's been terrible.
So let's talk about Heartland. How did Heartland come about? Was that just another audition you and your mom went to? And And you didn't think much about it? Or was it like, was
No.
Canada all talking about like this could be a big thing?
So what happened is I did a pilot called Left Coast, and it was about a rich family losing all their money. It was kind of like it was like the first Schitt's Creek, and it was actually CBC, which is Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
And it was about a rich family having to move to a farm.
Interesting.
And, figuring their way out or whatever. And that didn't get picked up. Instead, this series called Heartland got picked up. And they had just done a pilot. And so the producers of CBC and Heartland and Left Coast, this pilot, were like, oh, this girl, Jessica, would be perfect for this show because they needed a younger generation because everybody was 16 and older, but really they were 18 and older in real life. And so they needed just like a younger generation. They didn't have like a kid on the show,
right,
or a preteen teen. And so they had me meet with the writer and showrunner, Heather. And Heather had made this character up herself because the series was from a book. And Heather needed to come up with a character. And so Mallory is... and I love this about Mallory is that the showrunner and writer, it's the only character that's like a main character essentially in the beginning that was made up. It was totally her vision. And so it really mattered what Heather Conkey thought of me. And so we met in Vancouver and we went over a few scenes and she went, okay, yeah, Jessica could be Mallory.
Wow. So it wasn't even like a formal audition. You just sort of met with her and jammed with her for a little bit.
I did an audition. I did the lines, but yeah, I think it was just me.
Got it.
I think it was just me.
Did you have any expectation? Like that shows, is it still going? It's like 17 years. Was it?
It could be 18.
Was that did they know it was going to, obviously they didn't know it was going to go that long, but did you have an expectation that it was a recurring character and like you'd come up a lot? And
that's a good question too. I think that at the time there was 12 episodes a season and I was supposed to be in 6 episodes a season. So my mom and I are thinking like I'll be there like 3.5 months a year. It became 12 episodes out of 12. So I ended up being 8 months out of the year. Yeah. And so, my mom and dad are still together. My brother at the time was like very competitive in athletics, and my dad coached his teams or assistant coached his teams. Me and my mom went to every one of my brother's games. Like we're all the 4 of us were very supportive of each other. And so this was like a huge shake up. Oh, yeah. My mom and I being away 8 odd months out of the year and not being with dad, not being with Mason, my brother, that was like a wake up call of like, I really have to love this. Yeah. For my mom, and my mom never made me feel guilty. My dad and brother never. Sometimes my brother would, but it's my brother.
Classic Mason.
Mason. No, I love Mason. It took a lot for me to go, okay, I really have to love this in order for my parents to sacrifice being apart from each other.
When did you think that though? Was it after the first season that it was 6 and then it was 12 and you were like, wait, now I really got to think about this?
Yeah, because the time it goes by and you go, oh my gosh, like it was the next year. Because originally it was supposed to be very minimal, but I think that my character was one of the only funny characters. Sure. Everybody was funny in a sense, but my character was like mainly for entertainment and funny. Yeah. And so they were like, oh, the show can be intense and dramatic and all of these things. It's about love. It's about trauma. And my character was like, fucking shit up.
So it's shot in Calgary, right? Am I right thinking that? So how long of a plane ride is that from Vancouver to Calgary? That's like a 4-hour...
55 minutes.
Oh, it's an hour flight. Okay, so that definitely was a distance. Was there ever thought with your family that... Oh,
55-minute plane ride.
But to get back and see your brother's games and stuff, like it becomes a thing.
Contractually, if I had 3 days off or more, they had to fly us home.
Oh.
So I was in high school a lot. I was in elementary school a lot. I was a part of my friend group. I'd be like, hey, I'm peacing out for 3 days.
Wow.
See you on Tuesday.
I see.
And my mom needed it that way. And she made it that way because I don't mean this with any disrespect, but there was a lot of child actors I grew up with that were homeschooled.
Right.
And they didn't have the communication with other kids. They didn't have the normal experience. And my mom went, not my kid.
Yeah.
And so she made it a necessity that I was in school whenever I could be so I could get to know my teachers. I had my friend groups. I was friends with everybody in high school. Like, I had the full experience, and that makes me a better actor because I know how it feels to go through the natural processes of life. Like, that's totally normal to me. I'm normal.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't want me to be a
weirdo.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say a weird actor.
Was that 3-day deal where if you were off for 3 days, they had to fly you back? Was that something your mom had the foresight to add into the contract, or is that just a normal kid contract deal?
No, that's something that my mom was like. Whenever there's more than 3 days that Jessica's not working, she needs to be in school. And my agent Gary, real to real talent. I think he's retired now. I was with him like 15 years. They had the foresight. Yeah, it was like something that was a necessity because my mom wouldn't have let me be away. Then I would have been so isolated. I wouldn't have had a childhood.
Right. Did your mom work at all, or was this became her full-time job once you started booking regularly?
She worked, and then when all this started, there's no way she could have.
Yeah.
But my dad had his own businesses, and so it wasn't really about that. My mom never needed to work. My mom is just somebody that likes to keep busy. So, like, even now, she works. My dad's retired, but, like, my mom is a busybody.
Yeah.
And so she actually, she'll excel in anything she does. And she excelled at being a quote-unquote stage mom because she was never a stage mom. It was always about me, my health, my well-being. She was always just mom.
Sure.
She was never harsh on me or whatever. And so, but as soon as I was on my own, she went and got a job because that's just who she is.
Good for her. Can you bring that microphone up a little closer again?
Hello.
You got Heartland when you were 12 or 13?
12.
Okay. So as the show started going and you got to be on it more consistently, 12 episodes every season, were you... Right. Did the bullying shift at all at school? Were you like the cool girl that had a second life, the Hannah Montana that ran away and had a second life? Or did they just think of you as Jess, you're just Jess type of thing?
Yeah, I think because I started acting so young, all my close friends, my neighbors,
the popular street.
The thing with me is I was always a popular kid, but I was friends with everybody.
Yeah.
It was the random people that would come up to me that I didn't know. They would go, hey, I love Heartland. My friends did not care.
Sure.
They would like laugh about it. Like nobody cared. Like I was like the least popular friend in the popular group. But I got along with everybody. I loved the nerds. I loved the stoners. I loved the skateboarders. They were also kind of the stoners. I loved the film kids. I loved the mathletes because I was also like an athlete. I was friends with everybody because I loved everybody.
Sure. Did you like when people came up to you and said, I like Heartland? Or did you kind of want to disassociate from that when you were at school?
I would kind of walk to the side of the locker and go, oh, thank you so much. Like, you know, because when you grow up with adults all day, like, you're not going to be a bully. You're not going to be a like, you know how to treat people, you know how to respect people. You have a higher regard for just maturity in general. And so I was actually like the school therapist. Like, kids would come into the bathroom and they would join me for a session, and I would sit there and they would sit on the countertop. This is not a joke.
Wait.
And they would like tell me how they feel, and I would give them advice. And just because I think I had a different perspective because I was working with adults all day, that I'd be like, this too shall pass. Like,
wow,
this guy doesn't mean anything to you. Like, you won't remember his name 5 years from now.
How long did you do that for, do you think?
A couple years.
Wow.
It was like probably grade 10 to grade 12. I was like the therapist.
Gosh, that's hilarious. I love that.
Perspective is everything. And in high school and stuff, like, you get so clouded. And I remember being outside of that, looking in and going, oh, they don't get it yet, that this doesn't last forever.
Right.
Like, my friends were like my script supervisor, a 45-year-old on set, you know what I mean? Who's like telling me about, you know, world wars and stuff. Like, I'm not thinking about like, oh, Brian doesn't like me. I'm thinking
so funny.
you're not thinking right. And that's why I never had a relationship in high school. I thought it was silly.
It was a waste of time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because I saw outside of it, I was like, nobody's gonna end up together. Like, and if you do, like, good for you, but you're the exception. And so I
agree with the first part, but not the second part. Like, I don't think it's good for them if they make it last. I think it's really sad
Right,
because
yeah.
I'm like, you think of 7
No
billion
offense.
people, the one for you was in your high school.
Right.
Like, the math just does not check out on that.
math ain't mathin'.
Like, you're just casting a very small net and hoping this is the best one, and you're not experiencing life. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
No. 100%. 100%. And I saw that with my brother. My brother was like, the relationships. I was like, dude, my brother's older than me. And I was like, you're too young. Like, I don't want the drama. High school is traumatic enough with insecurities, you know,
Awkwardness.
family situations. Like, you're just trying to navigate who you are, what you're doing. Why add in a relationship? Too young. Too young. That's what I always thought. I was like, it's too young. I'm not going to do it. But I did get my first boyfriend the week after I graduated high school.
Oh,
I wasn't waiting around. I was like, yeah, after graduation, I'll take you.
As far as your character arc on Heartland, you left for college, right? I think your character left for college?
She left
what was the impetus
to Paris. She left to Paris, I believe.
Did that-
to go meet up with her high school, not high school sweetheart, but like the guy that was always in love with her, Jake, who's one of my best friends in real life, Jake Church. His name in the show is also Jake. He moved to Paris to do rodeo stuff, and then Mallory kind of went after him.
Did any of your coming and going in the show mirror real life, I guess is where I was going with the question. Because I was thinking you went to college, but did it mirror real life, or did they just were like it was time for her character to...
Well, what happened was I talked to Heather and the producers, and was essentially...
Heather's the creator, sorry?
Heather, yes, she would be the creator, showrunner. She's like lady in charge kind of thing. And now I think Mark is actually in charge. But I was like, listen, I've done this character for 10 plus years, and I love the crew and the cast. They really are a family to me. But eventually you start to feel like a creative sponge that's been wrung.
Right.
And so I needed to move on, basically the same as Mallory needed to move on. Like, I couldn't. When you're that age, you got to move on. You got to go to something else.
Sure. Did that coincide with high school graduation by any chance? Or was this before you... Okay, so...
I moved to Los Angeles 6 months after I graduated.
Okay.
So I already had it planned out, where I'm going to live, like where My agencies were all out here, and so it was just the next transition in life, which has been fun and interesting, and you know how it is.
But you had told them, you're like, okay, my plan is to graduate high school, move to LA, just so you know I feel creatively fulfilled, and then they wrote you out because of that.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was.
I did. I didn't quit the show, but I gave the show a hard pause.
Yeah.
It was like, I gotta do this for myself.
Yeah,
This lawnmower is really doing it.
It's harsh in our vibe right now. There's a leaf blower, as is LA. You said
Yo,
LA.
bro. Put on the leaf blower, bro.
Hopefully it won't be that bad. So you knew you were coming to LA. You moved to LA 6 months after you graduated.
Yep.
You had agents lined up because of all your credits.
I was already with my agents before Heartland.
You had Canada reps and LA reps.
And LA reps.
Got
yeah. My mom and I think we came here for the first time when I was like 10 or something to just meet with agents and whatnot. So I was already set up here.
That's awesome.
Which is a rarity, and I know I'm really lucky for that. But obviously, what's the term? Webs and flow?
Ebbs and flows.
Fuck me. Ebbs and flow. Things have changed, and you got older. It's like a tricky and sticky situation going from child actor to teen actor to adult actor, although I'm still auditioning for teenagers.
Yeah, to that point, I wanted to ask you about this. Well, you do look 18 to look younger still. Congrats.
Right.
That's a fantastic thing.
That's what they say. I want to play the lawyers and the doctors.
When I was 17, I looked 48, so it's ironic. But are you aware of Alyson Stoner's podcast? Do you know who Alyson Stoner is? She was like a Nickelodeon actor.
Yeah, of course.
She does a podcast about children in the industry being taken advantage and not having a lot of control of their faculties and their body and their choices, and things are being made for them as child actors. I was just curious if you'd listened to that and if you had any reaction to that from your experience. It's called, I believe it's called Dear Hollywood, and it's just like the idea that,
first of all, that's a great title.
And she talks about the toddler to something train wreck, and how it's just it pushes people to do drugs and to act out. So I don't know if you've listened to it. It sounds like you might not have, but you should, I think, and I would be curious your take on it.
Well, I always used to joke that I'm a child actor, but I haven't gone to rehab. And then there was a point where I did go to rehab.
Oh no.
There was a point where I was like, okay, and it wasn't so much addiction. It was the trials and tribulations you go through being in the industry, and that was more in my later years. That wasn't. My mom was
this
so
was
protective.
Last week, right?
Yeah, this was last week. My mom was so protective as a kid that nobody could mess with me. My mom was brilliant, and my dad too, in that sense that nobody would touch me. But it was more when I got out on my own, and I kind of had the same perspective that people would respect me, people would be good to me because I'm a professional. And then I realized that people are not always to be trusted.
Yeah.
And so that brought me through a huge roller coaster of things, and then it gave me more empathy for the kids that grew up being harmed in this industry.
Yeah.
And so I get where she's coming from.
Did you read Jeanette McCurdy's book by any chance?
It was that the mom.
I'm glad my mom died, because her mom was
died.
the stage mom that was making her.
I don't blame her.
Yeah. When
I heard her story and then read the title of the book, I was like, good for you. Good for you for saying what you want to say.
Yeah.
Screw everybody else's opinions. Doesn't matter. This is how you feel. This is your truth. And that is empowering to her. And so I haven't read it.
It's good. It's very good.
I want to read it. I've only heard amazing things.
Well, I guess to summarize this portion, would you, given your experience, if you
Had
ever
a child actor,
would you ever let your kid, if you have a kid, act or would you deter them from doing it? Because it sounds like you had, honestly, from what I'm gathering, a very good, healthy experience where you still had a childhood, you still had high school, you were on top of it, but that's not necessarily the case always. But I would just be curious if you would let your kid act.
I don't think my kid, I'm like this like super, I'm like, I think I'm intuitive. Who knows what intuitive is? But like my kid is going to be not an actor now.
Okay.
If he wants to be or she wants to be an actor, how can I say no?
Yeah.
When my mom helped facilitate my dreams. So, and my dad as well, supporting those dreams. Like, who am I to say? So, of course, anything my kids want to do, yes, I'll do it 100%. And at least I have the knowledge of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And I know how to protect my kids.
Right.
So, yeah, I would probably be the best person to facilitate that.
I think that is the key point, right? Like, does the child want to do it? Or is this a parent projecting on them?
Yeah, no, sure. I'm not going to, no. My last suggestion to my kids will be, hey, have you thought about acting? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Anything else, for the love of God. You gotta love it.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, you gotta love it.
Well, I know, and that's why, like, it's hard enough. I think granted, I do think the one benefit to being a child actor versus an adult actor is you're not putting food on the table and paying rent as a child, and you don't have to worry about that aspect of it.
That's a huge thing.
I think that's a big help, especially that's kind of why I wish I had done it earlier 20s, where I could have leaned on my parents, for example.
Right.
But once you get in late 20s and you have to pay rent and stuff, it becomes a completely different pressure. And so that not having that pressure as a child actor, I think, is a benefit, but losing out on everything else, I don't think is necessarily worth it.
Like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that is such a thing. It's all mental. When you have the pressure, when you go into the room and you're doing an audition, you have the pressure of, I got to pay rent this month. I got to pay my bills. I got to provide. I got to be successful. You go in with such a different attitude when you're a kid and go, this is my hobby.
Yes.
I like to do this for fun.
Yes.
Like, then you go in and you're just having fun. And I think that's what I would say to all actors is remember to have fun.
Agreed.
If you're not having fun, the casting isn't having fun. The producers aren't having fun. The director's not having fun. No one's having fun.
Yeah.
Like fuck what they think. Have fun. Like, you yourself enjoy yourself. And it's contagious.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's not about money. It can never be about money. It can never be about fame. It can never be about this or that. It's got to be about the art.
But those pressures that I just gave you were like kind of the extreme ones. There's also all these pressures of like, I've had a TV agent for, I don't know, 2 years. I haven't booked anything from him. He's gotten me, 30 auditions. But then there's this sort of pressure of like, is my agent going to drop me if I don't book this one? And there's all those like micro pressures as well as an adult that you just have to disassociate from that kids probably aren't thinking about as much, which I think is an advantage. But also
there's always other agents.
Is there though?
Yes. Yeah. There's always other agents.
Can I give you the opposite side though? Because I feel like this is my experience. I've done so many mass emailing of agents, reps, managers. Right now I have a solid team, right? But like in the past, I've done so many of those big mailings and gotten crickets. I'll send out hundreds of emails and get crickets. And it's like, is there other...
No, but that's the same as auditions. You're always going to get crickets. Yeah. You're never going to get what you want to receive back. And that's why you got to have thick skin and you got to love what you're doing, because it's always going to be crickets until... it's like a miracle. I booked the job. And that's that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like this is what I'm doing. That feeling of that win is so worth the crickets.
Yeah.
That like, pat on the back is just, for me, worth the crickets, because it's like, you're always going to book again. You're always going to find, if you get dropped by an agency, you're always going to find another agency. There's always going to be people that believe in you if you believe in yourself.
Do you find yourself prior to this business being an optimistic, positive person? Because what you just said, I feel like nobody says the idea of I'm always going to book again. Most people think this is going to be my last one. I'm screwed. But do you think of yourself as an optimistic, positive person?
No. No. When you've been doing it 20 plus years, you get to the point where when you think that in your head, you go, I'm never going to book again. I'm never going to book again. And then you always book again. Huh? And then you go, oh, I booked again. And then after repetition, after a while, you go, you know what? I'm going to go through dry spouts. I'm going to go through like bad times. I'm going to have agencies, management drop me. It's going to be bad, but you will always book again. Like, persistence is the game changer. If you are in it because you love it and it's what you do, you will book again.
I love that.
It's a numbers game.
Have you ever done ASMR? I'm not a big ASMR fan, but when you were just like telling me I'm going to book again, I was like, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
You're going to book again. You're going to book again.
Something about you going, you're going to book again was very calming.
I mean, I've had that voice in my head on replay for a very long time.
That's great.
Jessica, you're going to book again. No, you're not. No, yes, you are. Jessica, you're going to book again. It happens.
We talked about acting class. You met our mutual friend in acting class. How many acting classes have you taken? Like, I'm curious your take on that. What was the impetus to get in those? Was it to like start out in LA fresh, or was it you felt like you didn't know everything and you wanted to learn more, or was there a technique you were after? How many have you taken? What was the reason for taking them?
So, my castmate Graham Wardle, he played Ty on Heartland. He was like the heartthrob. He is the heartthrob. Babe alert, totally. And he took an acting class. At the time, it was called Cucumber Satellite in Vancouver, and then it turned into Actors Railroad in Gastown, Vancouver.
Love Gastown.
Shout out to John Cassini and K-Twa. He was like, you need to take this acting class. And I was 16 years old. And I started at 4, and I never taken an acting class. Yeah. And so they basically just cut me down to pieces.
Oh, shit.
I went into the class, and I had the same habits I've always had my entire life, because I've never had somebody really like fuck me up and be like, hey, you're covering your mouth when you're talking, you're doing this, you're doing that, just calling out bad habits. And then I kind of became obsessed with the techniques and the skills. And so I went through Stella Adler, Stanislavski, everything. I went through everything. And then I started doing plays. And then when I moved out here, I did, this is where I met Grace. I went to Michelle Danner's acting school. It was like Edgemar Center. I think that's what they call it, Edgemar. And that was in Santa Monica. And that did improv, acting, audition acting, all of these things. And that's where I met Grace. And then we both did Groundlings. I signed up for the Groundlings when I was 12 years old, and they told me I was too young to sign up. This is when they didn't have like kids things. Yeah. And I had to look up in Canada what's a zip code, because we have postal codes.
Sure.
So I just looked up random zip code in Los Angeles, and I wrote it in, and I like applied, and they were like, how old are you? And I was like, I think I lied. I think I told them like 16. I was like 11. And they were like, you're going to have to wait till you're older or whatever. So when I was 18, I went into the Groundlings. So the Groundlings was a huge thing, because then I started an improv group with Grace. We were 2 blondes and a Mexican. We were all
Nice. And the third guy it was you, Grace, and
a Mexican,
as
you can. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, so basically the classes was you took one in Canada. They called out some things that you didn't recognize you were doing, and you just sort of got addicted to like honing your craft. Basically,
Oh yeah, they hurt my feelings. I was used to being catered to, pampered 100%. Like nobody ever hurt my feelings or like had a wound and put some dirt in it. Like these people were like, we don't care how you feel, like show us what you feel. And that's like what good acting teachers do. They hurt your feelings so you can build on top of that.
Well, they don't necessarily hurt your feelings. What they give you is good constructive feedback. We might internalize it as feelings hurt, but they're not.
That's a matter of opinion for sure. They were mean.
To be clear, okay, so some definitely are mean, but some give constructive feedback, and it's just.
Oh no, it's all constructive.
Right.
Even if it's mean, it's constructive, because if they hurt my feelings because they're saying I don't believe you or this or that, it doesn't really matter what they're saying. It's how it makes you feel, and what are you going to do about it to change that perspective or to accept that perspective and become better. You need harsh people in your life to make you grow, and that's what really good acting teachers do. They make you uncomfortable, they don't spoil you, and they make you change, evolve, and be uncomfortable.
That was like the most badass thing you just said. You just said that like hard, like they tear us down, but we carry ourselves back up.
It's a hard knock life for us.
We kind of touched on this, but I'm just going to flat out say it. Like, what has your mental health been like throughout this 25 years? Like, honestly, right now, where you're talking from sounds so healthy.
That's really nice to hear. Thank you for that.
Has it been like that the whole time? Like we were talking about, you're very optimistic, very positive. You're taking constructive feedback. You're internalizing it, but you're not letting it take you down. You're not having an ego about.
That's important.
I've been a performer for 10 years. This is bullshit. Like you seem like you are very on top of what you bring, what you are, who you are, and all that. Has that always been the case? Have you struggled with it at all?
Oh my God, I struggle every day. First of all, what you just brushed on was like, you said I have no ego. That's huge. That's the best compliment I can have. People that have ego in the industry, doesn't matter if you're producing, writing, directing, acting. If you have ego, you're going to have confrontation and you're going to have problems with people.
Yeah.
If you go in just wanting to create and make a movie, you're gonna succeed, because at the end of the day, if you have to take a slight, whatever it is, you're not making the bonus you want to make, or you're not making this, you're not making that. It's not about that. It's about always the next step. So, do I struggle with the next step? Always. I'm always thinking, am I not sticking up for myself enough? Am I not doing this right? Am I not doing that right? What's wrong with me? That's always going to be but I think that's in any industry.
Oh yeah.
People are always going to think, do I deserve this bonus? Do I deserve a raise? Do I deserve this respect?
Do I speak up?
Do I speak up enough? Yeah. And that's something in acting we're so vulnerable to, because we're always kind of the last person on the totem pole to say, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
And that's why I was really proud of this strike. I'm thinking, like, whatever actors want to say, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm always going to doubt myself. I'm always going to be harder on myself than anybody else an acting teacher could possibly be. But, oh well. Honestly, well.
Can I get real for a second? What do you said you're always struggling right now in this moment? What is Jess struggling with? Like, is there something particular that you're wrestling with right now?
With acting particularly?
Yeah, not personal life.
I mean, personally, like, this would be a whole other podcast. Professionally?
I'm just like, tell me what you're... what are you struggling with right now?
Well, I went to the mall the other day. I'm just kidding. Okay, professionally, it's being in the room.
You hate self-tapes. You mentioned that to me earlier, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, I was just refraining from saying
I
anything
love
I
it.
might regret.
So healthy.
I miss casting directors. I miss being in the room. I miss going to the I miss going to the Sony
To the
lot.
lot, yeah.
Or the Paramount lot. Like,
Not the Fox lot.
magic.
The Fox lot sucks.
Yeah,
You have to take the tram
Low-key.
over, and then you're like, it's 12
Oh my
buildings
God, I
over.
forgot
Yeah,
about that.
Fox sucks, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
No, you're right. I forgot about that. That's what I miss. I miss the magic of like walking in and going, oh, I can be a part of this studio.
Yeah.
Talking to the casting directors, getting feedback. Hello. We are actors. We take direction for a living, and we are given zero direction. Meanwhile, light your own thing. Do your own production. Teach yourself. Find a reader. Do you know how many times I've read with myself?
Hit me up. I'll read with you.
Yeah, 100%. I'll take you up I agree. Also live like a solid 30 minutes
Well,
away.
you can Zoom it also. But wait, hold on. You need
But then they go, Jessica, the quality isn't that good because like the reader sounds like they're on
Wait,
Zoom.
who says that? The agent or casting?
I don't know. It's like the chicken or the egg.
Okay.
It's either management or...
I gotta pause you. You gotta listen to some of my last couple episodes of casting directors because I spend half an hour talking about how I need more feedback as an actor.
What do
I'm
they
not
say?
Getting it. Well, they're like, if you send in a self tape, have your agent reach out, and we will give feedback if we have the time and we, So like, I'm there with
Thanks.
you. I agree 1,000% that. But no, I mean, you
But
should listen to them.
shouldn't agents and managers? I agree with that, and I love all. I miss my casting directors. This is the thing, is I genuinely miss them. They're the people that will put me in a role that I haven't auditioned for. I'll audition for one thing and they'll go, you're not ready for this, but we'll put you in that. That's how you book.
Right, yeah.
Is relationships.
I agree.
I miss people in the industry. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I feel so isolated with self-tapes. Like I feel I'm on my own. I'm putting this tape into the ether. I'm just like, okay, au revoir, tape.
Yeah.
Do well. Like, what?
I'm there with you, because then you like start to think about it. You're like, did I do good or did I do bad? And you don't know which even way to go down this weird rabbit hole.
And the casting doesn't have time to go through every single tape and give criticism on every single tape. I don't blame them for that. I just blame where the industry's headed, because if you're in the room with the casting director, they'll have time for everybody in the room.
Agreed.
They'll be able to tell you then and there, this is good, but you're not old enough. This is good, but you're not gritty enough. Whatever it is, they can tell you in that moment, because it's people talking to people.
I feel like you should co-host this podcast, because that was a good guest rant right there that I feel like I've been saying for months.
I'm so happy to hear that, that I'm not alone.
Let me counter that though. I had an actor teacher once that was like, when you got to figure out how like your issues manifest and then treat them. So have you have the wherewithal to know this is a problem for you? Have you made an effort to make self-tapes feel more like the casting process? Like hire a coach that will give you feedback on the audition, or like make it sort of ceremonial where you drive around the lot, your block, and then drive to your house and walk into the
Universal.
No, I mean drive around your house and then walk into your self-tape room or anything like that.
I hear what you're saying. That's very method. I don't know whose method that is. Stella
It's
Adler.
a Mike special.
It's a Mike special. No, to answer your question.
And that's why you're struggling.
Because it takes me 3.5 hours to do one self-tape.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to drive around the block to get method about it, Mike. I'm thinking, who the hell's going to read with me? I'm going to have to read myself. So that takes about a half an hour to dub my own voice on top of my other voice. Shout out to Cold Read. You know that app, Cold Read? Cold Read.
I should look it up.
Oh my gosh.
I almost did that a month
you
ago.
can record your own voice and you can have the voice talk back to you
I love that.
while taping.
That's good.
It's like it is
But I think
next level.
Not to tell
Shout
you,
out to Cold Read. Please give me a free subscription.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
can get you one probably. I can't. This podcast can. I would encourage you to get a coach. I find like when I hire coaches to do my tapes, I do so much better because they can direct, or even just a friend. Like, I have a friend, Carrie, who helps me with tapes, and she just knows my comedy, and she's like, no, you do this. This is where you're funny, type of stuff.
I think that's really important to have.
Yeah.
I just don't like spending money on auditions. Yeah. That's all it is for me. Honestly, it's as simple as that. Yes, I could spend $160 on every audition, but I would be homeless.
And it gets icky.
It gets icky. Yeah. If you have 3 auditions a week and you're spending over $100 every day on audition, that's why you have to rely on friends. Yeah. And I'm lucky enough to have friends and stuff, but sometimes people are working. Yeah. They're not available. I have to shoot an audition with myself, and that's where I really miss casting. Casting an audition used to take 10 minutes. You'd wait in the audition room maybe like an hour. Happy to do it. I'm sitting there looking over my lines. 10 minutes in the room. Now it's a process. It ruins it. It takes away. It it makes me feel tired.
Yeah.
And that's where like the jaded thing comes in. And like I don't feel jaded about the industry. I'm just feeling jaded about, not even jaded, just tired about the process. Yeah. I miss people.
We went too far course correction during COVID. Hopefully it comes back. I mean, I had an in-person today.
True.
We talked about that, so hopefully it's coming back. Hey, we're at an hour, so I got to get to my last question, which is, did anyone take a chance on you? I like the idea of somebody taking a chance on you and giving you an opportunity. Has anyone that taken a chance on you that really sticks out?
Every production or movie I've ever been in, they've taken a chance on me.
So, like, who's the first one you think? The first big one that took a chance on you, I guess?
My mom.
Oh, that's beautiful.
100%. I said what I wanted to say, and she took a chance on it. And probably myself, because, no, it wasn't between dancing. It was between swimming lessons and acting. And I said, acting, glad I did that. Definitely wouldn't be a swimmer today. So I took a chance on myself. But my mom was like the one to initiate it. So yeah, I'm gonna say my mom, and then every single person who's ever hired me has taken a chance on me.
That's a lot of people. I love it.
It's quite the list. So like, yeah.
I love that. That's a really beautiful answer, and I think it ties into everything you've said for the last hour. So I love that.
You're awesome.
Thank you. Tell me more. We can go longer if you just want to compliment me.
You're really, really, really awesome.
Was this great? Was this your first podcast? Have you done a podcast?
I think I've done like 3 podcasts before.
Was this good? Was it good?
Yeah, we got it. You asked such good questions.
I know, right?
Genuinely. I think I had to stop and say multiple times, like, hey, that was a good question. I get asked questions, and you ask something that I'm like, dang, I have to think about that.
Well, Jess, it was a delight talking to you. It's good to see you again. We haven't seen each other in a few months. And don't be a stranger. If you need a reader, let me know.
I appreciate that, fellow actor.
You got a tail slate at the end.
Is this?
Yeah, this is your camera.
Or this one?
No, this one. That's the wide.
Oh, I was angling the wrong time the whole time.
Just kidding. You can play the wide. That's fine.
No, I'm totally kidding. I don't care. I don't have control over these things. I'm an actor. What am I supposed to say?
Just tail slate.
Tail slate. Jessica Amlee with Mike on the podcast. Thank you for watching. Was that okay? That was so much fun.
Hell yeah.
I'm the Canadian here.